Welcome back to my channel, guys. I'm back doing more videos. I took a little break for a while because of some stuff that's been going on I'm not going to get into, but I want to come back making videos. I haven't really been to the theater all that much, so I wanted to make a different kind of video. A video that I've seen go around YouTube amongst the movie reviewer community, and something I thought was interesting, an interesting video to do, an interesting topic starter for people who enjoy movies, enjoy watching movies, enjoy voicing their opinions about movies, and I wanted to give it a try. So if you couldn't tell by the title of this video is the top 5. I wasn't going to do top 10, but I had to narrow it down to top 5. The top 5 movies that I like that everybody else hates. So like I said, I've seen these types of videos go around the movie reviewer YouTube community for a while, and I thought it'd be interesting to do. And you know, with something like this, when you voice a different opinion that's probably controversial or whatever, and someone else has a different opinion, it tends to get a little too far. You know, some people are so passionate about their opinion, they will make sure you know about it. They'll call you an asshole or a jerk or you're an idiot or whatever. So a disclaimer before I get started, these are just my opinions. That's all any of this is, opinion-based. Film is subjective. You're allowed to like a movie that other people don't like, and you're allowed to not like a movie that other people do like. And that's the good thing about YouTube movie communities, but it's also a bad thing. It's a tricky thing to get into, so just keep that in mind while I'm going through this list. This is my opinion only. I'm not saying anyone who hates these are wrong or anything. Opinions only. So with all that being said, let's get started with number 5. Starting off my list on the top 5 movies I like but everybody else hates is Cowboys and Aliens. I remember when I first saw this and I was really enjoyed by it. Me and my dad watched it on, I think it was Stars or HBO, whatever we had at the time. And we were both like, wow, that was really good. We really enjoyed it. And then years later, I bought the Blu-ray, and then years later, I came across all this hate for it. And I was reading what people were saying about it, and I'm like, did I watch a different movie? Because I didn't get any of the complaints that people got. I thought this movie was really fun. It was really fun. It wasn't trying to be anything big or epic or, you know, anything like Avengers style type. It was just an enjoyable movie. And I forgot who I watched on YouTube, but someone had the same opinion I did about this movie, and they made a video about it back when the movie came out. And they said something like, you know, it's okay for a movie like this to just be good and enjoyable. And that's exactly how I would call this movie, good and enjoyable. I think the criticisms that people make about them are a little bit too far of a stretch. You know, I really enjoy the performances, especially Harrison Ford and Daniel Craig, and I am a really big Olivia Wilde fan. I think she is an incredibly talented actress. I really like her in this movie. The action's really good, the CGI is pretty good. The story is simple and it could be a bit convoluted at times, but that's really my only issue with the movie. You know, I think people should check this out again with a little bit more of an open mind and just not expect anything big or grand. Just expect an enjoyable movie, and I think you'll get that. So, number 5, Cowboys and Aliens. Next at number 4 is ironically another Daniel Craig movie, Spectre. Now, Spectre's all over the place when it comes to Bond fans. Some people either like it okay or hate it. I've seen a lot of hate for this movie when this movie got released in theaters, and I never got to see it in theaters, so I couldn't voice my opinions then. But I bought it when it came out, and I freaking loved it. I loved everything about it. Now, a few times in, I can kind of understand some of the criticisms, but I still really like this movie. This is a damn good James Bond movie. And I'm going to get controversial with some of the opinions here. And I'm going to get into a little bit of a spoiler territory, so take that for what you will. With Blofeld in this movie, the villain, I don't mind the fact that they made him a stepbrother to James Bond, basically. I can understand why some people don't like that, but I like it because Blofeld has always been, in my opinion, the villain for James Bond. And it's not really just my opinion, it's pretty much known that he is the James Bond villain. You know, he's the villain that Bond's gone up with the most. So adding that, I think, added a decent level of weight and drama to the two characters. So it's interesting seeing them face off in this movie. Now, with that being said, I do have some complaints about this movie, similar to what some of the haters say about it. But with that being said, I don't think this movie deserves all the hate. I think this is like top 10, easily top 10 Bond movies. I really liked it. I think, just like Cowboys and Aliens, the complaints are too far of a stretch. I really enjoyed this movie. I didn't even mind the fact that they were trying to tie in the other Daniel Craig movies together. It's one of those things that I understand the complaints people had with them, I just don't fully agree with them. So, number 4, Spectre. Next at number 3 on my list is Predators. Now, Predators has a pretty overall good critical score. It's just a lot of fans wanted something different, I guess. Now, I'm not a gigantic Predator fan. I like the movies. Well, okay, I don't like 2, and I haven't seen The Predator yet. But I remember watching Predator, Predator 2, and this movie back before The Predator came out, and I have a different opinion on Predator 2 in this movie than a lot of people do. I hate Predator 2. I don't even consider it as an enjoyable watch type movie. I just did not like anything about it. It barely kept my interest. But then when I saw this, I remember saying to myself, that's a lot better. This feels like the original Predator movie. Is Adrian Brody miscast? A little bit. You know, when I think of a Predator movie, I don't really think of Adrian Brody, but I think he's an okay actor. Actually, I'll go far as to say I think he's a good actor, a really good actor. Just not very good projects, a whole lot of very good projects. But, you know, the whole time I was watching it, I kept saying to myself, this feels like the sequel to Predator that Predator 2 should have been. Now, Predator 2 had a cool idea, bringing the Predator to Earth. To me, it was just wasted potential and not what I wanted. This is what I wanted from a Predator sequel. Now, again, a lot of people don't like this, and that's okay. You know, the Predator movies are kind of all over the place. At least the sequels are. A lot of people agree the first one's the best one, obviously, but the sequels are kind of all over the place. There's people that hate Predator 2 and like Predator 2, and the same thing with this one. I'm on the spectrum that didn't like Predator 2, thought that was a waste of time, couldn't get into it, wasn't for me, but this was a lot better. It's not great, it's not like the Predator movie that I've always wanted to see after the first one. It's just the Predator movie that I expected a Predator sequel to be, if that makes any sense. So I'm not going to get too much into it, but number 3, Predators. Number 2 is another movie that's got a pretty good critical score, but fans of this remake, yes, this movie's a remake, just absolutely hate it, and I don't understand why. War of the Worlds, the Tom Cruise and Steven Spielberg version. I saw this when I was 10 years old, so I'm going to go back really quick. I saw this when I was 10 years old, and I absolutely loved it. This is around the time where I started to watch more adult-style movies. And, you know, so this movie, when I watched it, it was kind of like this rite of passage. Like, I can get away with watching PG-13, more adult-type movies. And it all started with this movie, basically. And what I love about this movie the most is the fear it captured. This is around the time, I don't really get political in my videos. I'm not really a political person at all. But when this movie came out, it was around the time when fear started to crowd America a lot more than in the past. And there's a lot of conspiracy theorists out there that are just going to add to that, but this movie, I think, captured the essence of that fear, I thought, pretty well. You know, obviously we didn't have aliens come to Earth or whatever, but fear itself, I think it captured it really well. I also really love the performances in this movie, especially Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is one of my favorite actors of all time, and I think he's very dedicated in this movie. Justin Chatwin, I think, is okay. You know, I understand why people didn't like him in this movie. I thought he was okay. He could have done a little bit more. Yeah, to me, it felt out of place when that fight scene with the army, he was just like, I need to be here, I need to see this, and Tom Cruise just lets him go, and I felt, yeah, that kind of felt out of place. I didn't really think that was necessarily what that should have happened, but it's whatever, it happened. The movie did get better when it was just Tom Cruise and Dakota Fanning. And the third act, I will admit, is a bit clunky. You know, I can agree with some of the haters on that one, and kind of how cheesy the movie wraps up with the main characters. was a bit too much, but I really love the first 2 acts of this movie. I especially love when the aliens come to Earth and they're just zapping people and Tom Cruise is running away from it. And then they have the only working car, so they're driving through and Tom Cruise is trying to explain what he saw. The first 2 acts I absolutely love. The 3rd act is okay for me, but again, I don't really think the 3rd act problem is worth mentioning that this movie is terrible, because it's not. I really enjoy this movie. I actually want to rewatch it again real soon. So yeah, another one where I'd say watch it again with an open mind, and yeah. Number 2, War of the Worlds, Steven Spielberg version. Okay, we're down to number 1. Now this one I'm kind of scared to talk about because I know how fans can get. But I'm being 100% honest with this one. Number 1, the number 1 film that I like that everybody else hates is Star Wars: The Last Jedi. When I saw this movie, no one was hating on it. I went and saw it opening night. Everyone had a freaking great time with it. I even stated to my friend, I might like this one better than The Empire Strikes Back. And then when I saw it the other 2 times in theaters, I was like, okay, I see a little bit more problems with it, and it bumped down to number 1 to number 4. And then I started to see more and more hate towards it. And I just thought it was it's the same kind of hate that The Force Awakens got. But then as more time went on, I was like, oh my God, what do people see in this? And then first off, I've heard everything. I have heard every single argument that people make with this movie. I've heard it all. Luke is destroyed. The plot is stupid. Rose is stupid. The Finn and Rose story arc is stupid. Kylo Ren's dumb. I've heard all of it. Snoke is wasted. I've heard all of it. And I agree with some of those. Most of them I don't agree with. I don't think Luke was destroyed. And now a lot of fans are going to get pissed off with that one. But I've always seen Luke as the most relatable character in Star Wars. And he is. In my opinion, he is. He is the most relatable character ever. So when something like basically starting the new empire and destroying the Jedi that you built and potentially the whole galaxy, I would have that weight on my shoulder of, I can't do this anymore, I need to disappear. And you can call the bullshit of, well, he's a Jedi. Jedi ain't supposed to do that. He wasn't trained like an average Jedi. He started training when he was in his 20s. That's really late to be a Jedi. Anakin was too old to be trained as a Jedi in The Phantom Menace. So with all that put together, I can see I can understand why Rian Johnson took that direction he did. Feeling that Luke, he had to hide because he basically destroyed the Jedi and potentially the whole galaxy. So I liked the story arc they did with Luke, and I really love the ending with Luke. I like what they did with the Force, too. I like the fact that the Force is evolving into something else, because that's something that the prequels didn't do. They just copied and pasted what the Force did in the original trilogy. Well, what was it, 30 years, 40 years after the original movies? The Force is just supposed to stay the same? No, I'd want it to expand into something else. You can do more with it. Stopping a laser blast midway towards you, or projecting yourself, which is a huge stretch, but I got into it because it was a really cool idea. It paid off for some really cool moments between Rey and Kylo Ren. And the story, a lot of people complain about the story, and yes, the story how can I say this the best way? The story is very simple, and I can understand why people complained about it. It's basically a slow chase, a slow chase scene between the Resistance and the First Order. And everyone says this is the worst written Star Wars movie, but in terms of the plot, this movie's a lot easier to follow than all 3 prequels combined. Hell, even just The Phantom Menace, this movie's easier to follow than The Phantom Menace or all the prequel trilogy is what I'm trying to say. So I don't agree with all the criticisms on it. I think fans are just kind of treating this as one thing is wrong to them and then the whole movie sucks. And that's not how it is. That's not how I view it. It's cool when an opinion on one movie is so vast and so out there, so many different opinions, but it can also be a curse because there is a lot of hate for this movie and so much is unnecessarily towards fans that are just simply saying, I I like it. You know, you're not an asshole for it. You just like it, and you're not an asshole for not liking it. So I think it's overblown too much, and I was scared to put this at number 1, but at the same time, I'm not going to hide the fact that I really like this movie. So number 1, Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Well guys, that's my list on the top 5 movies that I like but everybody else hates. Let me know if you agree or disagree with these picks down in the comment section. Just please be adults about it, don't be assholes, because no one likes a person that does that. Also, look forward to my next list, which is the top 5 movies I hate but everybody else likes. I don't know when I'm going to do that, but I'll do it pretty soon. And look forward to the conclusion, of my Star Wars reviews coming very soon. I got one more, actually 2 more to do. Look forward to those pretty soon. And as always, thank you so much for watching, guys. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, click right here, and I'll see you guys next time.